Good evening and welcome to Wednesday night Satsang. I'm so happy to have you with us as we practice the principles of unity in the spiritual practice. This is our way of bringing a united way of understanding what we teach into our lives and demonstrating it, expressing in the world. So glad you're a part of it. So I invite you now to take a deep breath in and relax and open. And if you happen to be in a place here in Houston or beyond where you can hear the weather changing outside, as we can here in the pyramid, just know that we are always reminded that something greater than ourselves exists and moves and has being in us and through us and uniting us with all of life. For our union, our oneness, is the first principle from which every other principle arises. Everything is true because we are one. And so as we open to this oneness, we allow anything that is pulling us away or outside of ourselves, anything that is taking up energy or some time away from our experience of goodness in life, whatever, set it aside for now. For this hour, let this be your time. And so as you breathe and as you let go, you invite in now all the gifts of spirit, all of the rhythms of life, every good thing to come into your experience now, blessing you and those you know and love. And rest in the peace of God, in the joy of life, in the love of the universe, in the oneness of all things. Be blessed and know. And so it is. Amen.
As we enter into our time of sacred chant, remember that our practice is to bless ourselves so that we can bless humanity, bless the planet, bless the energy of all life. So let's sing this together in an awareness of sending forth a blessing and feeling that blessing return. I send my love over the mountain. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power over the mountains. I send my power over the sea. I send my power into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns to me. And it returns to me. As we shift into our mantra chant, our mantra tonight is Satanama, Satnam. It means the truth within you. And if you choose to do the hand mudra that goes with this chant, you play your fingers like a piano. Satanama. So your thumb touching your index finger and down to the pinky finger on each syllable, and then returning. So it's a way to clear the mind and focus as we prepare for meditation.
And what I love about this one is the sheer repetition of it. It's part of the fun of it. So just surrender to it.
Satanama, 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 Satanama,
Satanama, Satanama,
Satanama, Satanama, Satanama, Satanama, Satanama, Satanama. All things come from God, and all things go to God. Everything comes from God and goes back home again. All things come from God, and all things go to God. Everything comes from God and goes back home again, and goes back home again.
Satanama, 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 Satanama. All things come from God,
And all things go to God. Everything comes from God and goes back home again. All things come from God, and all things go to God. Everything comes from God and goes back home again, and goes back home again.
love the thunder.
Satanama, 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 Satanama. So we shift to our inner experience as we move into our time of meditation, checking in with your seated posture, sitting comfortably, feeling yourself present in your body, feeling an ease in the movement of your breath, letting go of any thoughts you may have been focused on, and feeling the natural rhythm of the breath, flowing in, flowing out, relaxing the belly, feeling the gentle comfort of the movement of air as it enters your nose, rise and fall the belly, allowing yourself to become quiet. In the inner stillness, I invite you now to reflect on your spiritual life, taking a look over your whole spiritual life, going back in your awareness to seeing in your mind's eye when you first became awakened to following a path of the heart, to your awareness of the presence of spirit. Remember that inner experience that you had in that time of the divine presence, of the mystery of the infinite, and of the possibilities that are present for you in this new awareness. Feel into that remembrance of your awakening. Allow your mind to show to you the years that followed that time. The early spiritual teachers, ministers, guides that inspired you. Sacred places where you meditated, prayed, sang chants, felt
presence of the sacred and the holy. As you look over those years, consider the practices that you followed. The cycles that you went through in your healing, in your studies, times of solitude, times of community. Your trials, your blessings, your guides, and your most recent practice. Get a sense of the scope of the problems that you faced on this journey, as well as the teachings present in the difficulties. As you go further into this reflection, enjoy this time of journeying, seeing it as your unfolding story, your spiritual adventure. Feeling a sense of awe and appreciation for the cycles of your spiritual life. And the gratitude that this awareness brings. Allow yourself to rest in this moment now, feeling yourself in this present time with a renewed sense of openness toward your life ahead, toward the possibilities available, the opportunities to learn, the guides that you know and may not yet know, your spiritual community. Let yourself sense what may lie ahead of you. The next stages of your life. Incomplete areas of your life that are calling for your attention as you go forward and move into greater healing and harmony. The dimensions of spiritual practice that you may be called upon to include become aware of your own spiritual guide within you that is leading you on your soul's journey, and that reminds you now that you have all you need within you to move forward in peace with what lies ahead, to be teachable and open to what new opportunities to grow are available. Honoring where you are right now in the cycle of your spiritual life. Honoring the choices you've made, your life situation, and opening your heart to yourself and to the Christ light that is unfolding within you in your life. You are on a sacred journey of spirit. Honor yourself for all of your experiences. And recognize the good and the love and the support present through it all. And so as we shift our awareness from this time of reflection and meditation to this space, we feel true gratitude for this one life that we have the opportunity to live. And we commit to living fully the love, the peace, and the light that we are. Breathing in and anchoring that awareness. And so it is. Amen.
And so as you gently return to this time and place, take another deep breath in just to ground yourself and relax. As Reverend Jeanmarie has guided you into knowing that seated within you is this truth, this blessing, this work that you've done. And so, like all of the things that Unity of Houston brings and offers in the form of teachings and classes and services, meditations, all kinds of ways to connect with one another, to share your journey with others, to bless others through the ministry of your service to our community and to our congregation and to the world wherever you go. How you embrace your life is a blessing and a light to the world. And so whatever contributions Unity of Houston has made in your life, this is the time that we invite you to consider how you would like to respond and to give from your overflow of gifts in the resources that you have to share, but from most importantly from the love of your heart. For it is the portal and the connection to every good thing. All blessings come from the love of the heart. And so as you breathe into your heart, and as you consider the gift that you'll share electronically in text to give, or some way through our website and electronically, or if you're here in the room with us, we have a box in the back if you'd like to leave something here in tangible form. But whatever the form, let it be filled with the love that you have. And let us bless it by repeating our blessing, by calling it by its name. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. And so it is. Amen.
Here in the pyramid, there's a gentle rain that's dripping off the roof, and we can see it here. I suppose nearby Houstonians are feeling that as well. When we settled on this song, I was actually thinking about Reverend Jeanmarie's talk title about accepting the cycles of spiritual life, but I am happy to claim manifestation of the beautiful rain.
Yes, thank you for selecting this song for us, David. It couldn't be more perfect. And let us remember the spiritual food and this blessing and peace washing over us and renewing us.
I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clean. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of summer, and the wind changed, and the green was easy, and the rivers ran clear. I dreamed of summer, and the wind changed, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers bloom in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and the way was easy, and the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and the way was easy, and the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. And the guardian stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and the sound was easy, and the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and the sound was easy, and the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. And the ancient pain is forgotten, and the Father's debts are clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, and the sweet and clean. I dreamed of rain, and the rain peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came.
Rain, rain, don't go away. We like you today. What a beautiful evening to be together. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We know there are some idioms that we use this time of year. April showers bring May flowers, or March comes in like a lion and comes out like a lamb. Like a lamb, because, well, maybe not in Houston, but most places it's very cold in the beginning of March and much warmer at the end. And so these idioms signify our collective recognition of the cycles of the seasons, of the changes in the weather and our environment. Whether we resist them or not, they still happen, right? And so when we grab our umbrella, our raincoat, our galoshes, our sun hat in the summer, our winter coat in the winter, that is our way to accept the cycles and to adjust. And so acceptance brings greater peace. Our spiritual life, same thing, cycles. They're not as evident like the weather outside because they tend to be inner experiences. We can resist the cycles of our spiritual life, right? Oh, I didn't want to work on that lesson right now. I didn't think that would show up that way, right? You may want it to stay a certain way or look a certain way. We have a tendency to think in a linear way, and that spiritual life, well, I awaken, and then it just gets lighter and lighter and lighter until I levitate and just no longer need the body. Somehow we can create different ideas of what it might mean to evolve and go through cycles. So we really want to honor the stage that we're in, recognizing that spiritual life unfolds in cycles, and that is not a linear path for sure. We know human life has certain stages. All the wisdom teachings agree that we go through certain stages in human life. We begin with childhood. There's a period of education and learning. There is a period for adult life and career work, and a period for contemplative practice. And so the succession of these stages in our human life, those show a wise and a meaningful life. If you've progressed through those stages, that is evidence of your right and perfect unfoldment of your development. So there are natural laws to the universe that we see in how the cycles of weather, of seasons unfold, and those natural laws are evident in our spiritual lives as well. So rather than a linear path of what we might think is the path leading to enlightenment, the path is more like what you might see on a conch shell, where you see the point of the spiral is when we're just our little ego self, kind of going through the world, seeing everything through our perspective, and then our experience of spiritual life widens like a spiral as it opens and opens. It opens us up, right? It opens up our hearts. It opens up our awareness to others and our unity with each other and our greater spiritual global community that we all share. We open up to life as a spiritual whole, and in complement to that, we recognize our own wholeness as well. The Buddha taught that the nature of existence is ceaseless transformation. So whenever we think there's a there to get to or a done, there's never a done or a there. There's always possibilities of transformation and unfolding growth. And so we want to respect those natural cycles as they unfold for ourselves and the cycles of life. Each of life's stages, the stages of our human development, have a spiritual component. So in this study that we're doing, A Path with Heart by Jack Kornfield, he shares these stages and the spiritual gifts inherent in them. And so the very first stage that we experience is before we're even born, when we're in our mother's womb. And he says that that experience of being in the womb is what allows us in our spiritual life. We have a deep, unconscious memory of oneness, of being enfolded in that amniotic fluid where we're getting everything that we need, and we feel just this peace, this sense of oneness, benevolence. And then when we're born, we move into the stage of infancy. And so in infancy, we get to experience our physical senses for the very first time. Seeing, feeling, touching, hearing. We're having a fresh and immediate sense of our senses. And so that freshness, that immediacy, what in spiritual practice we could call beginner's mind, being aware of the sensations of the body, of our experience, of being mindful. We bring that trusting in what we know and feel in the moment into our spiritual life as we progress and grow. We use that infancy experience as another memory that we hold that supports us in accessing that consciousness in our practice. And so after infancy, we move into childhood. In childhood, many people report that they had their first experience of what was sacred and what was holy. Some experience, whether it be in a church experience or in nature, or some kind of awakening experience where you find a spiritual ground. And also in childhood, we discover playfulness, right? Joy, curiosity. And the wonderful thing to remember is that going through the stages of going through childhood, every stage that we've gone through, we keep the gifts of that. So that is always part of us. We can always tap into that childhood, childlike playfulness, wonder, curiosity, imagination, that's always present with us. We never lose that. So whatever stage we're in, we can go into that and call on that. And as the spiral, like the conch shell, the spiraling, there is a teaching of spiral dynamics, that our consciousness evolves that way, that we include and we bring that into our next experience. And so adolescence, after childhood, when we're rebellious, right? We're acting out, we are seeking independence. And so this in our spiritual life is, remember when you didn't want to trust anybody else telling you what truth was, what spirit was. You needed to find it for yourself. Buddha said, doubt everything, trust your own light. So that is that part of your spiritual life where you are learning to trust yourself, your own inner guidance. That's when you bring in what you've learned from adolescent rebelliousness, seeking your own experience above others. That's the spiritual gift of that stage of your development. As a young adult, we develop compassionate concern for other people. We open up, right, beyond that inner experience or outer experience of just everything being about yourself, opening up more to a compassionate concern for others, a sense of interdependence with others, mutual respect, social justice. And that's an important part of that stage that we carry forth into other stages. And so as we move into adult life, the nature of the stage of adult life is becoming more caring and responsible for our family, for our community, and for our world. It is a time where we recognize a need to have a vision for our lives, a purpose, and a desire to fulfill what we uniquely came to express in this life. And so that is what we harvest in that time of adult life. And as we mature into our later years of our adult life, a natural, more contemplative quality enters our life. And we often are able to create more space for that as we enter into our later years of life. So we recognize from being in the womb to the latest stages of our earthly experience, there is growth. Seeds of spiritual growth are always present. We can live unconsciously and not reap into those seeds and grow. When we are engaged in spiritual life, conscious and mindful of our development, we can really reap from that planting of seeds in and through those stages. So I promised that tonight we would come into an acceptance, a greater acceptance of whatever cycle that you're in now. So perhaps it's not exactly what you thought your spiritual life would be right now, or maybe it's even better than you thought. We come to peace through accepting what tasks are appropriate for us in this stage of life. No one expects that you would be doing the same thing you were doing in your teens, in your 40s. Your stage has changed drastically in that time, and you may be doing the same thing, you may be doing it in a totally different place or different way, or what have you. So, unfortunately, there are people who come to spiritual community to bypass or avoid those tasks that are present in that stage of their life. Jack Kornfield shares about people who at age 25, they may come to spiritual community and they may be wanting to ignore their body or their creativity, and those people later come into their 40s and they recognize they wanted to have a family, but they ignored that urge. They wanted to have a career that they put aside because they felt that they needed to focus just solely on that spiritual life. And so we want to honor that all that is in us in each stage to do and to be. There are people who join spiritual community because they think they're going to be like Buddha the whole time. They'll just join the spiritual community, they'll walk around and just be really just a wanderer, a hermit, be in isolation, just meditating pretty much all the time, maybe eating and sleeping, and that's it. And they forget that the Buddha, after his enlightenment, he had his period of wandering, and then he settled into a spiritual community for 25 years and served as a teacher. He served as a community leader in that center, in that same space. So he wasn't just meditating his whole life. He was serving and teaching and leading. So my check-in now is, what are you resisting in your stage of life right now? Are you resisting anything? Did your external circumstances bring some unwanted or unexpected change? That can happen. We can have unexpected loss in our life, unexpected health challenges, unexpected career changes, unexpected pandemic. Things show up. So I want to share one stage of life experience that I had that was unexpected, that I wanted to resist. I truly did not expect this, did not want it, did not see the gift in it at first. And that was an experience that I had when I was in my mid-20s, and I had been as many of you know, a performer, a singer. I went to college for theater and acting, singing for undergrad, graduate school, and then I went on and performed regional theaters, performed in New York. And I was having a problem at this time in my mid-20s with breathing. I was taking allergy medication. I was doing the breathe right tea, whatever. And I'm like, wow, I just can't seem to breathe really well. I didn't know what it was. I went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and I found out that one of my nostrils was completely obstructed, like maybe a millimeter of space to breathe. I had a severely deviated septum, and I needed surgery. And so that was good news, that there was something that could be done. And the other news that I found out was, well, a bone had to be removed, and there was some other work that they did in my sinuses and shrinking polyps and things like that. I had to have surgery in a hospital, but it was outpatient surgery. And I found out that I got to be on some really great drugs during that time, which was really, interesting when you get the hospital bill and it says cocaine. I was like, wow, I didn't know I was going to be on cocaine, but cocaine opens up the nostrils, I found out. So I admit that I had that experience, but it was medical, for medical purposes. Anyway, just to bring some lightness to this, but that I had this experience and I had this surgery, and what I discovered in the recovery was that, one, my nose was profusely bleeding, and I had to have help. I really could not do this alone. I had to accept help from my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time, and I'm sure he well remembers the flaws of blood of this, and it's all part of the healing process. And I had this plastic cylinder in my nose to keep my nostril open, and to pray that the right result of the surgery was that I didn't have a hole in my septum. And it was a healing process. My sinuses were inflamed, and I found out that I had to basically relearn how to sing. I wasn't really able to sing very well, and my resonance was all off. It was like just where I would naturally sing, it wasn't happening the right way. And so I had a very kind and patient, wonderful voice teacher who worked with me over time as I was healing, as I was discovering my voice again, relearning my technique. I went through brief depression around my singing, and performing was my life. And so through that process, I got to experience what it was to not be able to share my gift. And it gave me a greater appreciation every time I get to be on this stage and sing at all, of remembering the time when I couldn't sing, and I had to relearn how to sing, and just the challenges of that. But what also came out of that time, which at the time I wish, why me? Why'd that have to happen? That I learned to experience greater self-love, self-care, to slow down, to go deeper into my practice, to not have to be so go, ambition, and, succeed, rolls, do. Like, I got to just step back from all of that for a while and just take care of myself. And it enriched my spiritual life. In that time, my husband and my boyfriend he became my fiance. We got married. I got to step into my performing career in a different way, in a more spiritually centered way. And obviously, eventually, I became a minister, but that's a whole other story. But that was that experience which many of us can have, where we think our life's going to go one way and something comes that may completely stop us from doing what, for whatever reason. And so I wanted to share that, because we don't always get to choose the cycle that we're working with. And when we accept it and we let go of resistance to it and we seek the gifts, something greater will come out of it. It will. That's the promise of spiritual life and working with the natural law of the universe that is working in us. So we do get to choose some things in the cycles of our lives. We get to choose our career, our getting married, that kind of thing. But most of the time we don't get to choose. Most of the time life presents us with challenges, be that a midlife crisis, a divorce, a sickness of yourself, children, aging, dying parents, money problems, problems with unfulfilled ambition in life. But when we look at all that, we can recognize that some of our most valuable teachings show up when our lives are disrupted. So one story that Jack Cornfield shares is a student who went to a 10-day retreat, and it was just such a wonderful experience for him that he decided that he wanted to save up, and he saved up for 2 years so that he could go on a very extended silent retreat. And just think about how amazing this was. 3-month retreat he saved up for, and then after the retreat, an extended trip to Burma and Thailand. And so this was a once-in-a-lifetime dream trip. He was so excited. 2 years passed, he saved up enough vacation time at work to take all that time off, and he was able to go. And 1 week into this silent retreat, he gets a call. His dad had a serious heart attack, and he had to make a decision. Either stay in this retreat or go to his family that was calling him and said, we need you to be here. Dad's in serious condition. The family needs your support. We just need us to be all together. And so he decided to return to the States to be with his family. And truly, he was greatly disappointed because he had been working for this for a couple of years. He was really looking forward to it. But he loved his father so much, and he was really motivated to be with him. And even though this was a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Asia, he knew that he might not get another chance to be there for his dad. So he went back home, and he spent 9 months at home caring for his father, tending to the needs of his family, and being with his dad through his dad's experience of passing into his next experience of life as he died. And it turned out for this young man that this experience of going home and being with his family and his father as he transitioned was one of the most deep and meaningful life experiences that he could possibly have ever had. And it was a deep experience of spiritual practice for him to get to be mindful and present and giving in and through this experience. So there was valuable teaching, even in this disruption of this great investment in time of bliss and peace and whatever he might have anticipated that came forward for him. There are also times that we can face storms in our lives where we think we'll be working with the same pain forever, and some breakthrough happens. So that also is part of the cycles of spiritual life. You don't end up in the doldrums forever. That this one man went on retreat, an older man. He went on retreat because he wanted to deal with his struggles with his 3 adolescent sons, 3 teenage boys, all teenagers at the same time. And not only that, he had been in intensive therapy for the grief that he had over being raised in an alcoholic family. So he'd been through a lot, and he expected that this was going to be a retreat where he works through his emotional pain and trauma. And to his surprise, a few days into the retreat, he experienced a deep and meaningful silence, depths of silence. He became filled, his body felt like it was filled with light. He became filled with devotion. He wanted to write poems and songs, and he felt joyful and uplifted. It's just a big shift. And he felt called to live in spiritual community and to be in this experience. And he made a commitment to himself that when his children were raised, that he would go and live in spiritual community. And so in that experience, he had shifted in his life stage. He returned home in a state of calm and peace and just really present for his boys. So, to close this exploration of the cycles of our spiritual life, we want to remember that spiritual practice cannot always follow the ideals that we have in mind of what we think it's going to look like. It follows the laws of life. It follows our natural stages and progression. So we want to notice what is before us to do rather than what we think it should look like. What is really being called in us to do and to be in this time. So the way to acceptance is to release preconceived ideas of what the spiritual life can look like so we can honor the phase that we are in right now. Our emotional work can seem like it can take a long time, but we will recognize that that phase of healing is over when those experiences, memories, traumas come up again, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're at peace with it. Oh, it's not that it won't arise again. We come into a peace and an acceptance and an embrace that of the wholeness that we are, including all that we've experienced and the struggles, the pains, the joys, the successes, all as part of the wholeness that we are. So when we honor our practice opens, our heart opens, and we become one with the spiral of a greater unfoldment. Namaste.
Thank you, Jeanmarie. What a wonderful way to describe the cycles of spiritual life as sort of like a parallel to our physical growing up. I was really struck by the infancy part. I kind of got stuck there a little bit because what played for me immediately was in my own deeper spiritual development, really, which I would mark as being, well, after I did some personal development work and some therapy and all of that, and went into ministerial school. That really launched the things that we talked about earlier in this series of, the different energies released and all that kind of thing. But the infancy part that you described, I really latched onto because I realized that what became more appealing was, like you said, seeing, but when you have spiritual sight, you see your life differently. You see the meaning of things. Sometimes you see visions. Sometimes you see auras. Sometimes you see things, It's like a new discovery of that. You said feelings were next. Yes, you feel all kinds of things. You feel more deeply and all of that you touch. I remember it felt like there was light coming out of my fingertips at times, that I felt like I began to realize that my touch imparted something. And I don't mean because I became like all spiritual and all magical or anything like that, but that I have always been that, and that you have always been that, and that it was just that I was aware of it, on the inside. And the hearing, of course, hearing a voice or hearing guidance, or really whether it's a real tangible hearing voice or whether it's a knowing but knowing it isn't you, knowing it is coming through you, but it isn't you, all of that. So I just wanted to share, you just really launched a whole bit of awareness about that part of the development that I, at the time, didn't realize would happen. And it's so important for us to teach so that people recognize that it ain't over, just no matter how old we grow to be, the development starts from the inside. Thank you for sharing your story too, of your healing and your recovery. And we just heard the beautiful, your beautiful voice and your gift. Don't know what it was like before your surgery, but we know now what you've brought to the world and what you do with the voice that you speak through as well as the voice that you sing through. So thank you so much for bringing that whole story to us too.
Thank you. Thank you. I learned a lot as a mom and getting to see my daughter go through these early stages, because there's just, I guess I would say I had the thought of awakening spiritually as being something you had to be a little older. In childhood, maybe it kind of saw it as childhood. You first experience the sacred and holy and that kind of thing. And seeing her being born and this child who's just in like oneness consciousness, she's just open and available, like, wow, no, that's there. And seeing all these things. And so this was really Jack Kornfield bringing to light those experiences of those early stages and just how those spiritual tools come forward from those stages. That I saw it, and I don't know that I recognized it in myself, but when I saw it in my child, it's like that's definitely evident that we're growing spiritually right from the start.
I wonder how inspired he was by his own children or grandchildren or children in his life, because it was very clear as you were reporting it. You talked about cycles and you talked about acceptance and how they're woven together. I think most people who are attracted to an experience such as this, at some point in our lives, we make a decision that we have a spiritual practice. I think it's kind of like what you were referencing earlier, Reverend Cameron, about that through our touch we affect things. I believe, I'm speaking for myself, I do have a spiritual practice, and that spiritual practice includes an awareness of when I am in accord. And I'm there enough to know what that feels like. And I'm not claiming sainthood here, but I know what it is to be in my spiritual center and to live my life from that space. And when I live my life from that space, then when things happen to me, or circumstances or whatever, the only constant is change, right? So I can sometimes dance with that change and it doesn't knock me off my axis at all. It's like, oh, this is still part of my spiritual fitness. And then there are milestones, there are touchstones that just ring that awareness so clearly that it's just like, I really want to drink it in. And I'm thinking of a specific moment in my life when my son was 27 weeks old and asleep on my chest. And of course I was in new parent exhaustion, and so I was grateful for the rest and the opportunity to kind of relax and sleep. And for a flicker of a second, I was aware of all the things needing to be done. And I realized, oh my goodness, never in my life has it been clearer what my priority is in this moment. And it was to be with that sleeping infant. And that's one of many. I have experienced it sometimes in a big euphoric moment, with big energy and lots of sound and that sort of thing. And they sort of kind of wake up that distinction of our spiritual center, and I want it more. I want to live from that place as much as I can.
Yeah. Infants bring us so much into the present moment. I feel like the first year of my daughter's life was one of my longest years, because it just right there with her, and all those little, there's like a million little stages in that first year.
I love it that you're talking about that. I just had the privilege of having my 3.5-month-old grandson at the house for like two nights. One night went really well. Let me just say. The second night was a surprise, but But my daughter was saying, well, I don't know if you want River. We don't need you to take him, but if you're going to take Violet, you can also take him. And I said, Rachel, he's going to change so much this year that every opportunity we can have for him during this first year is so important, because he goes from being born to walking, drooling on everything, grabbing everything, making noise and making his needs, all over the place, and standing up. He's crawling and standing up. He's like, he's like half grown, by the time he's a year old. So I said, yes, and of course, don't regret it. I love it. But isn't it true? Family is our dharma, isn't it? Is really it's the exercise, it's the challenge. Our family, no matter what kind of relationship we have, or even the relationship we may not have with our family, all of it is part of the journey and part of what, does it to us. I'm thinking of my mother's end of life and her last stages of life, and how it was mine, it had fallen to me to guide her through it and to be the one that the calls came to in the middle of the night and any time to deal with her care. And I was also minister of a church, and I was also taking care of grandchildren. I was doing everything, it felt like, and it just seemed like too much at times, like I just, it was so hard and such a privilege, at the same time. And I remember one time in particular, been really tired. It was 8 o'clock at night. I hadn't eaten my supper, anything, and I was just leaving the church, and Mom wanted me to stop by, and it was on my way home, so I stopped in to see her, and she just talked and talked, wanted to hold my hand, and everything in me, I wanted to run screaming out of the room. I wanted to just go home. I just wanted to take care of myself. And I watched myself just lose it in my head while I reached my hand, and I knew what she wanted. She wanted my hand. She wanted my presence. And I gave it to her. And I watched myself be patient with her when I did not feel it. Wow. You know what I mean? I watched myself give it to her, what she needed. And then when she'd had what she needed, which wasn't very long, really, in clock time, she said, "Oh, I bet you haven't had dinner yet. Why don't you go home and take care of yourself? Oh. Thank you so much for coming." She became my mom again. Do you know what I mean? And because that's a tricky thing, too, as an adult, and the parent starts to recede, they become so needy, the roles really shift. But I lost my mom. I lose my mom in that, in a way. But in that moment, she was able to be mom to me and take care of me and send me home. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I'm going to ever forget that. I don't know what I'm going to do to my daughters, but we'll see. I won't know, will I? They won't know. So, anything else that you wanted to share?
Well, I just had one thought, and that is we're sort of wired to be the captains of our ship and to kind of carve our destiny, as it were. And it's a dance. It's a dance, because I do believe that we are co-creators with the universe, and we're not just being kind of carried through cycle to cycle to cycle. We have agency in that. And where the spiritual discipline comes from staying in the question of what is being called of me now and what opportunities exist. We've talked about some version of this before, that even my own creativity is, just as valid an inspirational expression of God as is something that descends, from some sort of miraculous vision, or even a circumstance that kind of knocks us on a certain path. And I think it just comes down to that spiritual center, staying in that place and letting our destiny unfold and dance with it, move with it. That's basically what I heard when you were talking about the cycles. You know, let it come and let it go.
Yes, I like the way you put it, to dance with it.
So this is the time that we now take what we've felt and things that we have taken in our understanding and move together, because we are one community. Those of you who are present in this moment, who are watching us now on live stream, but those who will be watching this, we have you in mind as well. We feel your presence with us, even though we may not know you or know your name. You are with us. We feel the presence and we feel the room full. And so in this opportunity to now practice what it is that we know is true, our oneness and our connection, that healing is possible in every situation. And so we surrender the situation and the people in our lives for whom we want greater good to come in. And we do it now in knowing that in the space among us and between us is pure love, is pure life, is pure light, power, intelligence, joy, and wisdom. In every good thing is nearby and in a moment ready to be received. And so as we join in breathing together now and knowing that just hearing the sound of my voice, we are that close, heart to heart. And therein lies the power and the healing and the change and the transformation. And so we breathed and we gently think to let go now and speak gently the names of the conditions or the people in our lives that we wish to see different. And we do that in the quiet now. We know that every blessing is given, every prayer is answered. Our loved ones are enveloped. The conditions are already in process. And we let everything go and surrender and allow the peace that passes all understanding to take its place. And so it does, and so it is. Amen. We have a few things going on to let you know about. First of all, we are in the very, very close to the beginnings of our virtual spirit groups that begin this Sunday, April the 18th. But in order to be a part of that, you need to sign up online if you haven't already. Please do that today to join a group. It's not too late. You can join and jump right in. And I have created a new curriculum that you have to choose from, Encountering Jesus. And it will be an opportunity for you to learn about how it is that Jesus, fully human, also fully divine, and what that might have meant in the understanding of his teachings and the stories that he told, and the ways in which he healed and performed miracles, all of that. We'll do that over the series to just look at it through a different lens of understanding the humanity of Jesus as well as his divinity. I hope you'll be able to join us for that. But that's through our spirit groups. So be sure and go online today and become a member, part of that.
and you'll find a great set of community to be with as well. This Saturday, our Unity Women's event is coming up. It's music and movement as a spiritual practice, and it is being performed or illustrated by Donna Fisher and Helen Terry. Helen Terry is an expert in movement, in energy work, in utilizing motion and movement from its as a spiritual practice, and a way for you to learn some new moves yourself. This will be Saturday, April 17th from 2 to 4 via Zoom. You can register on the website and know that it is offered on a love offering basis as well. And let's go to the next thing. Come on, here we go. Sunday. We have Reverend Michael, who's in his series on the Revealing Word series. And this Sunday, he'll be tackling the I am. Who do you think you are? What a wonderful question. And don't be surprised that you may not have that whole answer just exactly the way you think it is until you've heard him to give you Unity's view of this bigger question. That is Sunday, April 18th at 11 o'clock. You can RSVP on our website to attend in person if you would like. We are, of course, observing safety protocols of screening, masks, and distancing. But we do hope that you could be in person if possible, but even if not, please don't miss us on live stream. Here in the pyramid, our Spanish ministry will be looking at las reglas en el juego de la vida, which is the gifts of the game of life. And so that will be brought by Giovanna Specht, who will be our speaker in the Spanish service. And if you have someone who you know is bilingual, be sure and direct them. It's on live stream and many other platforms. They are also in person. So we just ask that you come and use the safety protocols, but let us know that you'll be here. Our HHA, our Healing the Heart of America book club, is starting a new book, and it's going to begin Sunday, April the 25th, Conversations on Race, Healing the Heart of America book club. We're going to be looking at the new book that's just come out. It's already launching as a bestseller, The Sum of Us by Heather McGehee. She is being interviewed in so many platforms and so many places. There's a big to-do about this book, and I bought it and I've started reading it, and it is full of information and data, but what it really does is it helps all of us to realize, regardless of whether we're white or of color, that institutional racism affects and robs us all of freedom, and it robs us all of joy, and of it inhibits all of our actions in this world. And so it's a way for us to understand it from a different perspective and to share our experiences. This will be a very rich experience. We hope that you'll be a part of it. This will be facilitated by Linda Patterson from 1 to 2:30. You can find the Zoom link on unityhouston.org. Also, this Sunday, you have the opportunity to come on the campus. We already invited you to the service, but you can also participate in Landscape Work Day. Unfortunately, we can't do that by Zoom because that wouldn't work. So what we're doing is coming together, and on Sunday from 1 to 5. So you've got plenty time. Even if you come and you don't come ready, you can go home, change, and still come back. And sign up on our website to let us know that you'll be there, because we want to make sure we have everything that you need when you're joining us on to do some of the beautiful landscaping. There's planting to be done and all kinds of cool stuff. Next Wednesday, Reverend Sheila Gautreaux will be our speaker here on Wednesday night, and she is speaking on Heaven is the Decision I Must Make. You can RSVP on our website to attend in person and see her in person. So we're happy to have you here, and so happy to have you watching us as well.
Thank you, Reverend Karen. And so let us join together now in our prayer for the welfare of all beings, and let us send deep metta to those who have been impacted by systemic racism, knowing that our practice serves to bring greater awareness as well to this and to healing of our consciousness in our country and our world. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. May my practice be of benefit to all.
Shine your light into the world. Namaste, namaste. The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste.